Okay, good morning, everyone. I think we're going to try to get going here. I want to thank everybody for coming out this morning. My name is Ed Riskin. I'm the Director of Transportation here in San Francisco. It's our job to make sure people in San Francisco can move around the city well and easily, and I want to assure you that we are not in a regularly used part of the right-of-way, so we don't have a train out of we're not blocking traffic from moving. The underground is conveying people as we're moving about, which is why we chose this space so that we could stage an event where you could see a vehicle but not interfere with any Muni service. Do be careful, because on the edges of the platform you are right adjacent to the Embarcadero. We don't want anyone getting hurt here. But thank you all for coming. We're here to celebrate a milestone in the procurement of the next generation of Muni light rail vehicles, which I really think represents a turning point for the Muni system. Our light rail vehicles and light rail system is really the backbone of Muni. It moves the core of the system, and the ability to upgrade and expand our fleet in a way that will provide for much more reliable service, a higher quantity and quality of service as part of one of the biggest light rail procurements in the history of the United States is something that's just of monumental importance. It's probably the single most significant turning point for Muni that we'll see this generation, this procurement that we're here to recognize. I'm very pleased to be joined by Mayor Lee. We have on the way Supervisor Breed, who's the champion of this effort from the Board of Supervisors. We're also joined by the Regional Administrator of the U.S. Department of Transportation's Federal Transit Administration, Leslie Rogers. I want to thank him for being here, as well as Tilly Chang, the Executive Director of the County Transportation Authority, and Michael Cahill, who is the head of Siemens Rail Systems Division. Also joined by John Haley, who's the Director of Transit here, and who's really the one whose leadership has shepherded this project forward. Did I miss anyone? Oh, and most important, my bosses. The Vice Chair representing the MTA Board of Directors, the Vice Chair of the SFMTA Board, Cheryl Brinkman, and Director Jerry Lee, who chairs the Board's Policy and Governance Committee. A lot of different people working together to get us to this point. Really a hugely significant milestone in improving Muni service in San Francisco, and none of this would be possible without the leadership of the Chief Executive of the city. So please join me in welcoming Mayor Ed Lee.
Thank you, Ed Riskin, and thank you to your leadership and the board's leadership, and also all the agencies that are represented behind me. I take this unabashed opportunity that while we understand this is kind of part of our regular procurement, it is a milestone, as Ed explained. It is a $648 million procurement, but it has the ability to expand to about $1.2 billion over the years in which this contract will last. And while we anxiously await to give a little credit to our supervisors, particularly Supervisor London Breed, I assure you her arrival has nothing to do with Muni, because I rode Muni and it's all on time and it was clean and efficient. And I was glad to do it, and we'll continue to be glad to ride our Muni system more in the events that we do. And it's another story I want to say is that we want to invest in our infrastructure. And as we procure the newly designed, the exciting designs that we will be introduced to and see by Siemens and by our agreement with them, I want to just say that I take this opportunity to just ask our residents and voters to make sure we continue investing in our transportation system. We have an important bond on the ballot, $500 million, but it's the beginning of many types of this investment in our transportation, because we're growing. We are a modern city, but we're also growing. We're challenged by neighborhoods that hadn't had this kind of transportation needs in so many years, and we want to be able to accommodate all of our residents. Whether they're disabled, whether they're elderly, whether they're the new pockets of populations that we hadn't anticipated, all of that can be really encapsulated by not only this procurement, but constant investment in our infrastructure. that is what makes our city successful for generations to come. And so I have one of the most beautiful desks today to sign this, and I keep saying this is the best desk I ever get, because even though I've got a really beautiful one to sit at City Hall, I constantly will praise these makeshift desks, because that means we're getting stuff done for our communities, for our residents, in the streets where infrastructure is, making lives a little more efficient and easier. I just met Mr. Cahill, the executive of Siemens, and I wanted to kind of say to him, who needs Tesla when you got Siemens? And I know the governor, and I was patting his back on his recent signing of the film credits when he was in LA. I want him to also pat us on the back for investing in California and American-made products. What Siemens is doing, they're out of Sacramento. They've got a solar power facility. They give me more reason to visit Sacramento, because sometimes a little hesitant to be in that political atmosphere. But this is another good reason for me to make some constant visits, as I hope we add to their workforce. I know we will, and with all the other great decisions Siemens is making, and hopefully they get more procurement throughout the state, if not the nation. We get to build it right here in California, right here in America. Good American jobs, increasing our economic vitality while we design these new light rail vehicles. These vehicles are going to be special. Over the years, we've been trying to figure out how can we get a little easier, better design that's more accommodating, more efficient. How can we get a lighter design? These rails that we have now, rail vehicles that we have, are extremely heavy. They've got a lot of moving parts. They represent design and engineering from probably decades ago, and we need to modernize that, as we know that we're investing more money just to fix them. Right, Muni? Yeah, and rather than just fixing them, which is more and more costly, we have new vehicles that can have less moving parts, be better designed. And right now we haven't finished the design of this. We're leaving room for input. This is smart, because I think some other agencies learned by some mistakes that when they introduced a design that didn't have some input from our valued ridership, they had to go back and redesign and spend more time and money. We are now providing the invitation to our public ridership to get involved and register their opinions about how a modern rail vehicle on our lines should not only look like, feel like, but be even more accessible to everybody that we want to ride on it. And the more upfront work that we do, the better design that we have. We've done this on public rights-of-way. We've done this on open spaces. Why not do it on the very rails that I will be enticing people to not only invest in, to support, but to ride on an everyday basis? So I want to thank Siemens. I want to thank our MTA board. I want to thank our TA. I know Tilly's here. I want to thank Leslie and the Department of Transportation. Everybody is joining together collaboratively to invest not only a great light rail vehicle for the future, but in a process that constantly reaffirms we're with our ridership. We want to increase it. We want to increase people's confidence in their investments and the public dollars that we will continue to want to invest in our transportation. And I am continually to be the very lucky mayor of San Francisco, because I get to work with agencies that are headed up by Ed Riskin and our wonderful board members who got their ears to the ground on what it is that we need to do and do better, that they're creating relationships with the business community, with the ridership, with our neighborhoods, keep them strong. You cannot have a world-class city without a world-class transportation system. And we will continue to try to do that with all of our partners. And this is what will make not only residents of San Francisco proud. I suggest that as we do this with Siemens and create the jobs of the near future, we have a story to tell to the rest of the country. Let's invest in American-made products. Let's design them for the future. Let's get that job opportunities up for our incredible communities. Let's make our state even more successful. Thank you for being here today. And yes, I agree, we are not stopping traffic, and the Giants are playing elsewhere, so we're not stopping their success as well. But they're going to win, we're going to win, and we all get to win in this incredible story. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to emphasize a few points. One, just to drive home the fact that these vehicles will be designed, built, manufactured, and supported from right here in California, just up the road in Sacramento. So not only are we in San Francisco going to get great, new, reliable vehicles and more of them, but we'll be creating jobs right here in California as part of the process, which is a great benefit for the economic development of the state. I also want to just reinforce that the funding partners standing behind me are really the ones that are enabling a lot of this. Through this procurement, we'll be replacing the entire current fleet as well as expanding it, and that replacement is largely funded, about 80% from federal funds that we get through the Federal Transit Administration. A lot of the local match that we use for that, the balance of that 20%, is from our half-cent sales tax administered by the County Transportation Authority. So as you're thinking about riding these vehicles, do thank the folks standing behind us for giving us the funds here in San Francisco to be able to do so. We have a lot of people in San Francisco today who rely on these vehicles every day to get them to work, to get them to school, to get them to wherever they need to go. We have a lot more people in San Francisco who would like to be able to ride these vehicles, but don't or can't because they're too crowded, because they're not reliable enough to make that a good transportation choice from them. And we have a lot more people who are going to be coming to San Francisco in the next 25 years, and we need to be able to accommodate them on transit so we can keep the city as clean and beautiful as it is today. The Board of Supervisors, who represents today's riders, today's would-be riders, and tomorrow's riders, are really the ones who understand, along with the mayor, the importance of this investment. And that's why we couldn't do it without them, not just because legally they're required to approve the contract, but we really need their support to make this kind of investment in our transit system. And we have a great champion in London Breed, who represents District 5 right in the center of the city. Most of the Muni lines go through, the light rail lines go through or touch her district. Her constituents have a lot of reliance on the system, and she has been a champion, always one to let us know when we're not doing something right, but always one to support us in making the system better. Without her leadership, we wouldn't be at this point. She got all 10 of her colleagues to sign on to the legislation that will authorize us to enter into this contract. So please join me in welcoming Supervisor London Breed.
Good morning, everybody. I am so happy to be here today. In District 5, Carl and Cole, there's a station that people are constantly trying to take the N Judah on every single day. The N Judah is the most traveled line in the city and county of San Francisco, carrying over 40,000 passengers each day. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't get a request for more trains, more service, or a complaint about the doors being broken, or challenges with their ability to get to work, to get to and from their locations. This is why this is so important. Currently, our fleet requires service at about 4,000 to 5,000 miles. These new trains will require service once they reach over 59,000 miles. That's absolutely incredible. 21st century world-class trains for a 21st century world-class city. And I can't be more proud because this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to not only be a part of the board, but to be a part of the city and county of San Francisco when this purchase and this commitment, this significant commitment for public transportation is made. So I'm just here to express my gratitude to Ed Riskin and his team at the MTA, to Tilly at the Transportation Authority, to the mayor, for his support. This is not an individual effort. This is a team effort, and Siemens and their ability to want to work and make sure local jobs are happening, that these trains are being built, that they're working with us hand in hand, and they came in at 20% less than anticipated in comparison to other companies. And that is a major deal. That's a cost savings. And I can't wait to ride the first train. Thank you all so much for coming today.
Thank you, Supervisor Breed, for your leadership on this. So the reason that the SFMTA Board of Directors had the confidence to approve what, again, was, as I understand, might be the largest light rail vehicle contract in the history of the United States, and why, in turn, the Board of Supervisors had that confidence and did so with the recommendation of the board's budget and legislative analyst, and the reason why the mayor has the confidence to sign this resolution authorizing us to enter into this contract is because of the phenomenal, thoughtful, meticulous work that was done to get to the point of procuring these vehicles and developing this contract. And that work was led by our transit director, John Haley, and a large team of folks from our agency, the city attorney's office, and elsewhere. And as Supervisor Breed said, they're great vehicles at a great price that will address all issues that we've experienced in the past, and will provide for a much, much better riding experience for the public, a much lower cost maintenance experience for us. So it's really a tremendous credit goes to John and his team for getting us to this point. So as the guy who's going to have to actually deliver and operate these vehicles, I want to ask him to come up and just recognize some of the folks who helped get us to this point, tell you about some of the equipment that's on this vehicle and how it's going to help us build this next generation of vehicles, but also tell you why he's so excited about what these new vehicles are going to bring to the Muni system. So please help me welcome our Director of Transit, John Haley.
Thank you, Ed, and thanks everyone. It is a great day for the riders, and as you've heard from everyone, we're working every day to improve things. Things are getting better, but how much better will they get when the new cars begin to arrive? So let's start with two numbers, 15 million and 1 million. 15 million represents approximately 1/3 of our current subway ridership, and 1/3 of that ridership, or 15 million people, are negatively impacted every day, one entire year, because of delays in our system. So when the new cars, everybody's talked about the reliability improvements. How reliable will they be overall? That 15 million will become 1 million. That's because, and how are they able to do that? That means it will go from impacting in a bad way 1/3 of the ridership to less than 2%. And that's because the cars, as you heard, will be modern. There'll be applied technology, new technology. As you heard the mayor talk about the doors are a simple design. That's one of our biggest problems. These doors will be stronger, simpler, better, and safer. I don't know that any of you have ever been in a Muni tunnel when the train suddenly stopped. I've heard that happens, but at any rate, usually the cause of that has something to do with the propulsion system. So what we did with this evaluation committee that we put together was we said, we're going to get tough. We're going to require that the propulsion system goes 60,000 miles before it breaks down. Well, what Siemens provided us is a propulsion system that will go 650,000 miles between breakdowns. And they're able to do this because of their proven track record in performance. So why is this a better car? The proven technology, the doors, the propulsion, the braking system. Anybody knows that occasionally that our trains move a little bit when the brakes are applied. This generation of braking is an all-electric system, a nice smooth ride. So those are three of the key features. They will be tremendous for the system, will allow us to meet the demand for the next 30 years, to grow and move forward and hit all the ambitious goals, not only for us, but for the city. I do want to recognize our evaluation committee, who are standing over there, led by our project manager, Edwin M. We asked them some 18 months ago to get us a good car, to get it here on an aggressive schedule. The first car will be here in December of 2016. And that's pretty good. That's 2 years from now. We're ready to go, and they have delivered. You heard Supervisor Bree talk about the price. Total team effort, well supported. Everybody's behind this, and let's get it done.
Okay, with a pen, the mayor is about to help move us into the next generation of Muni vehicles that are going to significantly change in a very positive way the experience of everybody who's going to be riding Muni for the next 25 years. So at this point, I want to ask the mayor if he'll do the honors and sign the resolution that'll enable us to enter into this contract, and want to thank everybody for coming today.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, the magic here. Of course, today is September
19th. Every day you sign it. $1 million.
All right.